The 2014 Academy Awards marked a seminal moment in the rise of the selfie.
Ellen, what was your favorite Ellen moment?
Host Ellen DeGeneres captured a star-studded selfie that became the most retweeted image on the internet, causing the social media site to briefly collapse. Today, nearly everyone is taking selfies.
I think everyone needs to take like 20 selfies to get the perfect one.
The art of taking a photo of the self often polarizes opinion. So why do we take them? Are they a means of insufferable vanity, or are they actually misunderstood? This is the rise of the selfie.
Hey, Paris, you look gorgeous.
Paris Hilton claimed to have invented the selfie in 2006.
1 second, Paris. One more here, please.
However, she was late by nearly 150 years.
The first person who ever took a selfie was a guy called Robert Cornelius. This was over 180 years ago. And he was actually testing his camera. And it's really interesting that the very first selfie was actually for a very practical reason.
Taking a self-portrait in 1839 would have involved a wet plate camera, quite a long involved process. You've got to coat the plate, you've got to expose it in the camera while it's still wet, and you have to develop it immediately. So I find it really interesting to think about this in the context of Robert Cornelius sitting in his studio, sitting in front of his camera's lens, having really no idea what he looked like, whether he was making a weird face, whether he thought he was smiling and in fact he was frowning. The camera was designed to be pointed at the world, not back at the photographer. The Kodak Brownie was the first easily portable camera. A lot of early advertisements for the Brownie showed women holding it like that, close to the chest. So certainly the earliest portable cameras weren't particularly well designed for taking selfies.
This didn't stop 13-year-old Anastasia Nikolavina, who cleverly used a mirror to become one of the first teenagers to take a selfie in 1914. It wasn't until 1920 that a selfie was taken at arm's length. The antediluvian analog camera was so heavy, it took 2 people to hold it up. The 5 men photographed were from the Byron Company, which is still in business today. It took 50 years to reach the next milestone of the selfie.
Polaroid put instant photography on the map in the analog era. Being able to take a picture and see it almost instantly, I think really started something.
The Polaroid made single-handed portraits quick and easy, and a new medium of self-expression flourished. But framing was still a challenge, until a breakthrough in 2003, when Sony Ericsson released the Z1010, one of the first mobile phones to feature a front-facing camera.
Actually wasn't designed for taking selfies. It was designed for conference calls and things like that. I think it had like 0.3 megapixels, which is, we probably laugh at that now, but at the time, this was, you know, cutting-edge technology.
Then came a camera phone for the masses.
6 years later, the iPhone 4 came along. It was a good-looking phone, a great sensor for the time. People were able to view themselves in a different way, and I think that definitely put the selfie on the map.
It was actually 8 years earlier that the word selfie first appeared.
The word selfie was first used in 2002 on an Australian forum by a chap called Nathan Hope. And he was using the Australian habit of adding IE to the end of words like tinny, bobby, sunnies, and the term stuck. In 2013, selfie had become a common enough term to be included in the Oxford English Dictionary, and it was word of the year.
A decade later, the selfie added a new dimension.
I remember seeing a selfie stick around 2013 and thinking it was the bizarrest thing ever. I actually thought they had adapted a golf club.
It was actually in 1925 when the first selfie stick was used. Arnold Hogg took a photo with his wife Helen on their wedding day. Arnold made history by accidentally leaving the pole in shot. Today, selfies have become so common, it's hard to stand out.
The key essential to taking a good selfie is having the most up-to-date bit of kit. CAMON 17 Pro, for example, it's got artificial intelligence. It optimises your settings based on your scenery. It's got a high-resolution pinhole camera at the front. I think camera technology has just really come into its own. You've got things like clap to take a picture, snap to take a picture, styluses that you can use remotely to trigger the shutter button. So, you know, selfies really do go hand in hand with the evolution of technology.
Thanks to these advances, selfies have become commonplace and evolved to have a variety of uses. Social media platforms have created a digital stage for selfie takers to accumulate huge audiences and generate new income streams.
I'll definitely say I'll probably take quite a few selfies, but they're all for good reasons. I find myself taking most of my selfies when I'm on set. The last year and a half I've done 2 big campaigns where one was being the model and another part of the job was for me to then post my 4 favourite pictures on my Instagram. So Instagram for me is a massive part of my job and it's now also led to me launching my own brand.
Becoming an influencer can lead to business opportunities previously reserved for celebrities. But celebrities are also using selfies in new ways. And some are more daring than others.
So when I think of the word selfie, the first person that springs to mind, and I hate to say it, it's Kim Kardashian.
The first person that comes to mind is Kim Kardashian, but that's, you know, that's not a good thing.
I love sometimes selfies in the mirror.
Her pictures are provocative, sometimes in amazing ways, sometimes just in provocative ways.
This is super awkward.
This woman was everywhere, going on talk shows, interviews, every kind of show you can imagine, taking selfies with the host and giving her best top tips as how to get the best selfie. So I think she's responsible for putting this selfie on the map as well.
She just plays with, you know, the line, I think.
Paris était une chanson, on la chanterait sur tous les tons.
Hollywood's first selfie dates back to 1981, when an ex-soldier turned Hollywood cameraman was snapping photographs of himself with celebrities he would meet on television sets.
I did selfies for 33 years before they came a thing. When I started doing selfies, it was a roll of the dice. You just reach out there and hope you framed it right and hope the camera focused right. I thought I had invented them, although now I realize not so. Because I had to forfeit the title of creator of the selfie, I settled for the first person to do it with celebrities. Admittedly, it was a vanity thing for me. I also liked the way celebrities reacted to the way I was taking a picture. I absolutely think that the selfie has made the autograph obsolete. The most famous person I took a selfie with was probably Ronald Reagan, one of the most photographed people on the planet. And he told me I'd never had my picture taken like that before. And I guess that's when I realized, maybe I'm onto something here. I don't know.
But not all celebrities enjoyed this take on the autograph. Justin Bieber has said that having selfies taken all the time makes him feel like a zoo animal.
So I don't personally understand this obsession with taking pictures with celebrities. I actually think it's an invasion of their privacy and it's not something I would do.
When we share a photo of ourselves with a celebrity online, they function much the same as an autograph would have in the past. So it's not only about capturing a moment to preserve privately, it's really about documenting something as evidence that we were actually in contact with a certain celebrity.
Selfies are a unique way of capturing moments in time, but used in excess can be seen as narcissistic, and with technology dominating our lives, we find this line being continually blurred. So, what are the motivations behind taking a selfie?
Because we live in a very individualistic, competitive society right now, identity is a big thing, and projecting our very best self is seen as a highly regarded social norm. So we confuse narcissism with anxiety and insecurity. This is the first generation really to have been raised on screens. I think a lot of people confuse them for snowflakes, narcissists, but I think that disguises a deeper insecurity that's really driving these behaviours. It's a need to feel approved of, it's a need to be loved and validated, and it's a need to feel like we matter.
Everywhere we look now, everything looks perfect. I think that we all somehow try to be that perfect version of ourselves.
Selfies can be detrimental to our mental health. It's like anything, it's all about moderation. I think if they're taken because we feel the need, we feel a dependency, almost kind of like an addiction really, to putting our best self online every day so that we maintain the likes, the follows, and we don't lose that engagement, then of course you can begin to see how that can really run away with your mental health.
There is, some kind of connection with taking selfies and online bullying. I have had really personal attacks on social media in my, direct messages. But I just try to remember that the most important thing is what my friends and family think of me.
Contempt for selfies may well be influenced by the fact that society views them as a predominantly young female creation.
I don't think it's a misconception to say that selfies are predominantly female. Certainly the standards by which we judge selfies, the poses, the gestures, those I think are generated and circulated largely amongst a female user base, for sure.
I've been on many jobs and on set with male models that's taken just as many selfies as us girls. We all take selfies.
So it's relatively common for, say, a father to take a selfie with his young child.
Regardless of gender, have selfies become an act of vanity or simply misunderstood?
Traditionally, photographs have been understood more as a way of capturing or preserving special moments. Increasingly, what we see is that people are using photographs for the purpose of sharing, expressing an idea or a feeling or even an identity with others online.
A facial expression says so much more than a sentence, and I also think that when people look at a picture, they actually take the time to study it.
There are many examples of selfies being used in very powerful and evocative ways in terms of resistance and giving visibility to very important issues.
Raise your hand and say, me too! Me too! Me too! Me too!
I think there are many contexts in which a selfie can be a really positive thing.
I'm originally from Denmark, so it's a really nice way for my friends and family to follow my life over here.
I think it was Amy Schumer this year shared a selfie after she'd had a C-section. And it was really powerful to show that this is real life and this is what happens in those most vulnerable moments. And I think that's really brave. Yes, you can point to the superficial moments where people are clamoring around trying to get in a photo, but you can also point to the really powerful moments that make people think, that make people sit up and reflect on a certain issue.
It's safe to say that the selfie is changing the landscape of imagery and how people communicate. A new genre of art is rare, but when one comes along, it's hard to ignore.
It's more and more the case the taking of the selfie is the first step in a whole line of post-production processes that allow you to do whatever you want with it. You know, the increasingly creative use of filters. And I mean, this is the nature of art anyways, is to use whatever media, whatever tools you have at your disposal to do something creative and innovative, something that nobody has ever seen before.
For me, I think they've definitely become an art form for the younger generation because it's representative of their culture.
Perhaps when we look back at them in 50 years' time, there'll be watershed moments that are captured by those selfies that speak very poignantly to how culture was at that moment in time.
Maybe one day there'll be an exhibition of selfies in the National Portrait Gallery.
If you look at the heart of art, what it's really about is creativity and expression. And there are some selfies that are extremely artistic and creative in that regard.
More and more people are using the selfie as a means of empowerment. A lot of the accounts that are trending are people with physical differences.
I think there's a lot more realness going on now, which is really good and really important.
You know, we all have hectic lives, and sometimes it's really useful for other people to see that actually, you know, this is real life, this is what's happening in my life, and a lot of people find strength and encouragement from those moments too.
With the selfie continuously evolving, how will we share images in the future?
I think augmented reality and virtual reality, they're going to play a part somehow.
Maybe one day someone will even invent an anti-gravity device that will turn our smartphone into a tiny drone that can be used to take three-dimensional photographs of ourselves.
In our own generation, we kind of refuse to believe that culture changes, and that's very true. Like the bafflement that baby boomers, when they look at Generation X and Y, millennials, is really interesting because they can't understand how people have changed so quickly. And so selfie today is the big cultural phenomenon, but perhaps in 20 years' time, for the next generation, it will be something else. But that's just a natural function of rapidly moving culture.
Selfies come from all of us. They are a folk art. In 100 years, when we look back, how will we view this phenomenon?
And the fact that we have phones that allow us to take photos and capture pretty much every single moment of life gives us a very rich resource.
I think selfies, more than giving people a voice, they enable them to be seen. And particularly when someone is trying to express their feelings or their ideas about a political cause, really, these can be very powerful modes of resistance.
One of the most positive parts of the social media movement, and selfies in particular, is a communication of real life and how real life has all sorts of different shades and colours.
The selfie has become a portrait of life, an original way to capture and share experiences. They have also become a powerful tool to raise awareness for important causes and give a voice to the unheard. In the future, the massive selfies will present an incredible snapshot of society. Imagine looking back 100 years from now and being able to see how culture has evolved from one trend to the next.